You can maybe even do one book each month. Let's have a book focus of the month, and then have students talk about that book throughout the month. Brown, and I help teachers increase student achievement through building student self-efficacy in math. I'm dedicated to maintaining and keeping that joy in math for students through having a centered approach. And one component of the approach is building and embedding social emotional learning and growth mindset, embedding that in math, not just saying it one time at the beginning of the year, but embedding it in our practices, embedding it in the math class. So I just want to talk to you a little bit today about that. So all of this started for me one year when I wanted to transfer schools. There was a group of students that was coming up to me to teach the next year, and I was afraid. I was afraid of the things that I had heard about this group of students. I was afraid that I didn't have what it took to teach these students. I had heard that they were super low, that they just had a lot of gaps, they had behavior problems, and I was afraid. I was really afraid to teach this group of students, and I wanted to transfer. I just felt like I could not do it. Every teacher before had said that this was the lowest group of kids that they'd ever taught. And so, like any other person, I wasn't ready to face the challenge. And so that summer, I just really felt that I needed to love on those students. And so we hit the ground running that school year, and I truly began to love on those students and to find ways to build their confidence in math. And I was so glad that I stayed, because that year, those students experienced so much growth. And it started me on this journey of promoting and finding ways and encouraging other people to build self-efficacy in math. So I'm so glad that I stayed the course. So it's often said that teachers wear many hats, right? And it's not just said, it's actually true. We wear many hats. Teachers teach. They're expected to be a parent. They're expected to be the nurse, expected to be the guidance counselor, and everything in between, right? And so we oftentimes feel like there's just not enough time for me to do the extra stuff that is kind of being thrown our way. And so one of the things in education that's big right now is social emotional learning. And a lot of teachers that I talk to, they're just like, oh, I just don't have time to do social emotional learning, teach that, and teach my curriculum, right? And so I have found a way to just embed that, or several ways to embed social emotional learning into the math class. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. One way to do that is through books. And so I found a few books that will help to do this, and I have a few tips for how you can do it. So what you can do is just find some books, and I'll share a few with you today, and you can just put them out in your library, in your classroom. You can just put those books out, and when students come in the morning, or if maybe students finish an assignment early, you can have those books out and have some questions that go along with some questions that could go along with any story that students read. For instance, if they read a book, you can ask students, what challenge did the character face, right? What challenge did the character in the story face? What challenge have you been facing in math? How did the character overcome their challenge? And then maybe ask them, okay, well, based on how the character overcame their challenge, how can that help you overcome the thing that you or the challenge that you are experiencing in math right now? And this is a great way to engage students in just a cross-curricular activity that would just encourage some reading and math, and so that they can see that the two are not separate, but they go hand in hand. So let's talk about some of the books that I found, that I came across. My son loved all of these books. I just put them out in my house, actually, and in the mornings before school, if he finished getting dressed early, I would look and I would find him reading. He would just grab one of these books, and so it's been really cool just to have these books around. So one of the books that it's an oldie but goodie is Giraffes Can't Dance. So this book is about a giraffe who, in the beginning, seems like the giraffe can't dance, right? He can't dance like the other animals, but he finds his own flow. He goes away and he ends up finding his own rhythm and dancing in his own way. And I think this book shows students how they are on their own math journey, right? We don't have to keep up with other students and how they are doing in math. Each student is on their own math journey. So that's what I loved about this book and the concept that it reinforced. The next book is Jabari Jumps, and my son loved this one. He's 7 years old and he loved this one, and he actually was able to relate to it a whole lot because he was in swimming lessons and he quit swimming lessons. And so after reading this book, he was actually encouraged to go back and try swimming lessons again. But this book is about a little boy who was afraid to jump off the diving board. His dad encouraged him and he went. Even though he was afraid, he went and he faced his fears, and then he was ready to go and do it again. But this book, I feel like it's just important to show how students need that encouragement, right? It's okay if we're scared, if they're starting math and they're afraid to embrace those challenges. They just need a little bit of encouraging. And so then the next two books are by the same author, The Dot. This one is a very popular one. And then Ish. They are by Peter Reynolds. Both really great books. The Boy Who Loved... Let's see. So The Dot was about a little girl, actually. And she could only draw a dot. And the art teacher says, now put your name on it. And so then the art teacher frames it, and I won't tell the whole story if you haven't read it, but it really encouraged the student. And then from there, she just started to do even more. And this book also just shows, the teacher said, just make your mark and see where it takes you. How powerful is that? If we as teachers would just say, just make your mark and see where it takes you, right? Like just encouraging them to step out, to embrace those mistakes, and see where it takes you. It's all a part of the learning process. But she took a dot and she made it better. And then Ish, this book was about a boy. He loved to draw, but he kept getting made fun of. And so this book also, the rest of it and the way it plays out, it reminds me also of students and them embracing their own math journey and not someone else's. The next book is Your Fantastic Elastic Brain, which is a great friendly read for kids to learn about the brain and all of those parts and how they function. And, you know, when we talk about growth mindset, we're talking about how the brain can grow. And so this is a great book that it's an informational book. And so it teaches them about the brain and how their brain, making mistakes, allows or helps their brain grow. And then this last book, Mindset Matters is my absolute favorite. Sorry, there's a glare. But this one is my absolute favorite. So it starts off with a girl. She is trying to build a swing set, and she is struggling with it. And her dad she makes a comment to her dad, and he fusses at her and he says, you've got to have a gotta get it done mindset. And so she takes that mindset into her struggle at school with math, and embracing that mindset, she's able to meet her goals in math. So that's my absolute favorite one, particularly because it directly aligns with the mindset that students need to have when in math. So these are all some great books that I would encourage just to put in your classroom and encourage kids to engage with those books, answer questions. You can maybe even do one book each month. Let's have a book focus of the month, and then have students talk about that book throughout the month. But if you'd like more ways to encourage the growth mindset and implement social emotional learning into your math class, I have something called the Fun 5. If you go to my website, jbrownedu.com. It's called the Fun 5. I have an entire guide on 5 ways that you can increase students the experience that they have in math, and increase them their opportunities to experience joy with math. So I have a whole guide. Go to the website, check that out. It's all free. You just put in your email address, and that will be sent. Put in your email address and your name, and it'll be sent over directly to you, all yours, step by step, how to implement the Fun 5. And if you have any questions, my information is located on the last page, but you can also reach me on Instagram. I am joyful.math. Let me know if you have any questions. I would love to chat with you, or just come and say hi.